and welcome to HCA Talks Health. I'm your host, Zena le Roux, and with me today is the lovely Vicky Barnard. So Vicky is a practicing health coach, and she's an HCA graduate in the middle of who knows where. So somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And somehow she has still managed to be fully booked. So this sounds like a really interesting story, Vicky. So firstly, welcome. But please tell us more about your journey to getting to where you are today.
Thanks, Zena, and thank you for having me today. I love this journey, and I love health coaching, and I love your podcast, and well done on that as well.
Thank you.
So when I talk about my journey, I had no idea what was waiting for me. I really had no idea. And like you mentioned, I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm surrounded by animals and mountains. So I didn't even think that it was possible to have a practice. I really didn't think it was possible. And you asked how my journey started. So just as I qualified, I had my first talk. And from that, I got my first paying client. But also when I started working with my case studies, I just realized the amazing impact health coaching can have on people's lives. And it really filled me. And a lot of my case studies referred clients to me. And before I knew it, I had a business, but it wasn't easy. It didn't fall in my lap. I had to work at it. I had to, put in a lot of effort, a lot of time. But by the next year, I realized I had a business. And for me, I love our life on the farm. I love the animals. I love working with animals, but I really love people too. And for me, that was a massive change in my life, that health coaching gave me that opportunity, because if you've ever had a conversation with me, my purpose is a massive deal in my life. And purpose has got to do with people for me. And being a health coach, that beautifully aligns my purpose with what I do. So for me, it's just so enriched my life. And I'm so grateful, that's happened. Coaching.
So how do you make it work over there? I'm curious. So I guess you don't see people in person. Do you see them online?
Yes, all my clients I see online, one-on-one. And so can I tell you a little bit about my day, how that works?
Please,
so it depends on the season on the farm, whether it's calving season or mating season or whatever season it is. So and then it depends whether I start 5:15 in the mornings or 7 in the mornings. But what I usually do is I start the day with the farming stuff, because I'm still involved with a farm. But then usually around about 11 o'clock, or sometimes in the afternoons, I will see my health coaching clients. And one day a week, I see clients for the whole day. So I have to fit in, two aspects of my life to make it work. And that's the beauty of health coaching, is that you can do it the way you want to do it. And it is a flexible career to have.
Yes. So. Wow. No, that's amazing. And I know that you also do talks, right? So you don't only see clients, but also do talks. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that and how you get them lined up in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, well, with talks, I do my talks in person. I don't do that online. And I just love the energy of a talk. I love it to do it. And my talks are basically, or most of my talks are giving one talk, and then people book a talk from being at the talk. So a lot of that is just somebody being in the audience and saying, I want you to come and do a talk. And my talks are always about somehow investing in your health. So whether it is your sleep or your energy or your food or planning or stress, it's not got to do with money. It's that investing in your health. So it's always, aligned with that. And for me, it is important that somebody leaves a talk and goes home, that they've got some action, that they don't feel, oh, we've had this lovely talk now and we're all gung-ho motivated, but what now? Because I've listened to talks and I'm very motivated, and I get into the car, and by the time I get home, it's just flat. And I don't want talks to be like that. I want people to go home, take action, and do something.
Absolutely. I think that's what health coaching is all about, to bridge the gap between thinking about doing something and actually implementing it, right? So if you can even be able to do that with your talks, I think that's lovely. You know, that's the aim with our one-on-one sessions as well, but with talks, I think that's fantastic. So how did what made you decide to study health coaching of all things?
No, well, that that just happened. That just happened. So, if I can give you a bit of background about my own health journey, if that's all right.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I've always been very into health. You know, I did a lot of competitive running when I was at school and at university. So, from a very young age, I was given eating plans before big events. So, I've always been aware of health, about, aware of eating healthy food. Um, so yes, that was always the case. And now my dog's scratching on the door,
Oh,
Zena.
sure.
So
No,
that's
don't
always
worry.
the case. Oh, sorry. That's part of my coaching. Always dogs.
Oh,
Sorry,
I love it.
sorry. Yeah. So I've always been aware of my health. It's always been like I've never had a massive unhealthy lifestyle. Sorry, Bentley. And in 2009, my father got diagnosed, or he died actually, from polycystic kidney disease.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And my paternal grandmother also had polycystic kidney disease.
Mm.
So when that happened, the doctor said, listen, this is a genetic disease. Myself and my siblings, we all had to be tested. But I wasn't worried because I was fit. I was eating healthy food. I was not overweight. I've never smoked. I've never even had a McDonald's burger. So I wasn't worried because I was healthy.
Yeah.
But then they did the scans, and it turned out I had the cyst on my
Oh,
kidneys and
wow.
not my.
Mm.
And but that happened, and I was given you're not going to live beyond this age, and that wasn't that big a deal to me. The big deal to me was that I had to, the time I had, that had to be the best time I could have, in
Mm.
this body I was given.
Mm.
So I saw this thing. So I was already into health, but then I said to the doctor, but I'm not overweight, but I had this fear and I'm not unhealthy. And he said, sorry, it's your genes. It's what's going to happen. And I just know there has to be something more. And I really went into health and in eating and doing whatever I could do to make this body as healthy as I could. And yeah, now I'm in even better health. But then, so I've always been interested in health coaching.
Yeah.
And then this course, I just read an ad about, HCA, and I thought, oh well, I like, anything about health, so let me do this. And I did the course, but I had no idea how it would enrich my life. It's, yes, maybe my own health was I was in good health, but just as a person, the growth, it was just amazing. And it was just fell in my lap. And
Mm.
yeah, I did it.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Loved it.
But I love what you're saying about really making the best of the time that you've got, right? And so I think often when it comes to health, it's not necessarily about, we don't necessarily want to live as long as possible, but we want the quality of life. And that's important. Even if we have a few years or many years, we want it to be the best that it could possibly be in the body that we've got. So I love that approach. And I guess that is also the tone or the inspiration that you use with clients as well, helping them to be able to achieve their best life and their best health possible. So I know that you work quite often with clients who wants to improve energy. So this is a bit of a focus in your practice, right? And obviously when it comes to energy, our sleep kind of matters. So I've read the one testimonial and I find it so inspiring where you received a message from a client who said, I slept for 9 hours and I feel fantastic. But before then, the client told you that he or she will never be able to sleep even 7 hours a night, right? So just within a few weeks into the program, they reported this amazing improvement. So tell us more about that. How do you support clients to improve sleep? Because I know this is something that many clients struggle with, and I guess most of us could actually do with a bit more or better quality sleep. So tell us more about that.
Okay, so when it comes to energy, I know I'm a pain, but it's a big deal to me, because I feel if you don't have energy, then you can't expect to eat healthy or cook healthy meals. You just do tired. You can't expect to exercise. You can't expect to prioritize your health. And also, I'll talk about weight a bit later, but energy was a big thing because I saw in my dad how tired he became. So I never wanted to lose that energy. You know, my dad was this amazing, energetic man, and it drained him. It drained him. And I never wanted that. So people will come to me and say, oh, you know, so-and-so said it's normal to be tired. It's my age, or it's this. It's not normal to be tired. It's common, but it's not normal. Yes. So if I want to know how somebody's doing, I don't ask them, you know, somebody close, I don't ask them, how are you, Zena? I say, how are you sleeping? Because that to me really,
it matters.
You know, it's our hormones, our immune system, our skin, the stress levels, everything, our weight. I mean, if we don't sleep, we eat more, we're not, you know, full, all those things. But when it comes to supporting people with sleep, I sometimes do video calls and I'm in their rooms and they show me what's going on, and I'm like, oh, it will be that or something. But basically, I start in the mornings. You know, I often have clients, and I like, the first thing you do, you open up your windows, you open up your curtains, and you get that first sunlight. Because what do? Get into our cars, we put our sunglasses on, and we drive. And so many people say, yes, but I'm outside, I'm running or I'm walking, but we do it with our sunglasses on. So the first thing, sleep starts in the morning. So I always say, get that light, take your sunglasses off, just get that morning light, because that helps us with our whole circadian rhythm and sets us for the day. And then a big thing, especially now when in winter or in summer, you know, in Europe, the room temperature is so important. I always say try to aim for between 16 and 19 degrees. And especially in winter, we heat our rooms too much, you know. And I mean, if I work with clients, I know what they sleep in, you know, everything, just to make sure it's the right temperature, it's good, and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And then another big one is not eating 2 to 3 hours before sleep, before you go to bed, because your body needs to stop digesting food. So you don't want that to happen while you're sleeping. And then some people will get back from work and do their things, and then they will go exercising. It's like, no. You don't want to raise your heart rate or be wired, you know, exercise a little bit earlier. And then lights. And that's where I come in with video calls and things. You know, we put on all these lights at night. We need to go with what happens in nature. So at least an hour before you go to bed, dim the lights, you know, get a bit romantic. So we need to release that melatonin, and that's so important to just set the tone for your brain to realize we're going into night, because it's, you know, we have these bright lights and then suddenly you have to sleep, you know, your brain can't work like that. And then of course caffeine, not in the afternoons and evenings, and people will say, oh, it does nothing to me, but then I'm like, yeah, do you wake up around about 12 or 1? Yes. And okay, might fall asleep.
Yes.
So it's a big one for people. It's a difficult one. And then screen time. You know, we struggle with screen time, but you were talking about that testimonial. So when I work with clients, I'll challenge them. I'll say, okay, we've got a deal, 3 nights without a phone, like 2 hours before bed. And if it doesn't work after 3 nights, you can have your phone back. And then they will send a message, for example, at 8 o'clock. I've got all these messages in the evenings. I don't look at my phone at night, so I'll see it in the morning. Phone off, phone off, phone off. And then after 3 nights, I haven't had a single client who said, okay, it didn't work. Just makes such a difference. But they have to commit to the 3 nights, and then That's how we get into just start. So it depends on the person again, what's keeping that person from sleeping. Those are just a few tips, but I will say, okay, Zena, tell me, what time do you go to bed? Tell me what happens from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock or whatever, So I really go into the person and find out what's going on, what's keeping them awake.
I love that. And I guess that's part of the power of health coaching, to really to listen out for what's showing up for them, right? And to support them, meeting them where they are at. But you're so right. So it's really about getting that balance between the cortisol and the melatonin. We need our cortisol in the morning. So the bright lights are important to get us going and get that motivation going. But then we need to start releasing the melatonin at night to become more sleepy. So I agree completely. And I know what it feels like when I did not have a good night's sleep. It impacts everything. But yes, also our decisions that we make around food, we need those fast releasing sugars and carbohydrates to give us some energy the next day, right? So this definitely also impacts our eating the next day. So when we're thinking about eating, so yes, definitely sleep impacts our choices. But what I know you also do when you work with clients, it's not just about the science of food, right? But it's also the psychology of food. So yes, we need to take other elements into consideration, like sleep and mood and all of those things. But what are your thoughts around the psychology of food? So tell us more about that and why both elements matter. So yes, the science of food matter, but also the psychology. So just tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So that's why, you look at the client and you totally what you said, it's health coaching, it's the individual. So whatever the need. So when it comes to food, I'm in absolute awe of nature and everything nature offers us to support our health, and I think that is so, so important because food impacts every function in our body and we need to understand it. But it's easy, we can Google it, but health coaching just helps clients to understand where they need to improve it, because we can listen and see things from a different perspective compared to when you're in it and you cannot see it. So to me, it's the whole impact of food is a big, on your mental health, all these things. You had that great podcast with what's his name, Patrick. I'm looking at the book, and it's all about those things, and it's amazing. But when it comes to the psychology of food, to me, that is a very, very big thing because our health is a very personal journey. I always say what works for you is not going to work for your mother or your sister. It's very, very personal. And we all have a relationship with food, but sometimes that relationship is quite complex. Yeah. And we have to look at that relationship. And when it comes to food, there's history, there's emotions, there's culture. And what I mean by that, with the history, people will say to me, and it was maybe in my case too, my parents and siblings are all overweight. So it's our genes, it's just the way it is. And then I say, okay, let's look at what your parents eat. Let's look at what your siblings eat. And then I can say, yes, genes, it's 5%. Yes, it's there. But, you can do so much more. So it's the history. And then it's the emotions. I've got clients, and I've got one now who specifically said to me, every afternoon she has a peanut butter sandwich because her grandmother used to make a peanut butter sandwich for her after school. So for her, that's a comfort. So we have to work through that peanut butter sandwich and find something else to comfort her. So it's those emotions. And then it's just being aware of it. And I will always ask somebody, whatever, the struggle is with weight, I will say to them, when did it start? And they always can tell me when. I will say, when did you become aware of your weight? And they will say to me, when I moved schools from a girls' school to a co-ed school, or when I went to primary school. There's always something. I had a client recently who said to me, she was 9 years old, it was her birthday, and her grandfather made a comment about her weight and eating the cake. 4 decades later, she got the opportunity to tell me that. And she thought it's not a big deal, but she's been carrying that with her and it is a big deal. For her, it was a big deal. So it's all those emotions, that food brings, and we have to work through those emotions. And food is a relationship, and we have to pay attention to that relationship. And I work with a lot of male clients. About 50% of my practice is male, and they have so much pressure on a cultural aspect. It's a strange thing with men. I find there's a lot of peer pressure, but they think they have to eat in a certain way. People expect them to eat or drink in a certain way. So it's all those things, and you have to look at that. So you have to have a happy, healthy relationship with food. And that is why it's so important to look at that aspect and not just think, oh, well, we can only look at what you put into your mouth. It's so much more complex than that. And personally, I mean, I told you about my father and my grandmother. They were both overweight. So for years and years and years, I had a fear of being overweight. So I had a fear of food in a way, not an eating disorder, but I had a fear that I will go, because I thought if I'm overweight and I'm going to have high blood pressure, then I'm going to die, because that's what happened to them. So because I understand what food can do, I understand what my clients go through, and we have to look at those things. And it's just, people eat and they feel guilty. And to me, men, I thought it was only women who felt guilty about food. Men have major guilt when it comes to food. And to get through that guilt, and even things like just we punish ourselves. We think we've eaten this, so now we must starve ourselves or we must exercise. But getting to the cause, the root of all this, and seeing clients discover it, just really, really, it's like a release, and it's like they feel lighter. And often clients will say to me, I feel lighter. And it's got nothing to do with weight. It's just that light, that
Absolutely.
feeling.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's so empowering, because isn't it sad how food is it's such a beautiful, nourishing, wholesome part of our lives, but then often it's complicated with emotions like guilt and shame and all of the things you've mentioned. But it's this lovely thing that gives us energy and fuel to be alive. So if we can change our mindsets around that, then like you say, it could be very empowering, and it could change everything. But I hear where it's definitely, we're not going to be able to support our clients fully when we just give them a nutrition plan. That's not what it's all about. Just give them the plan and tell them good luck. That's not where the breakthroughs often lie. It's like you're explaining to us. It's there's lots of other elements. It's often much more complex. So
sorry, Zena, you're so right there, and that's the difference with health coaching. You can get an eating plan off the internet. You can go and see somebody, they can give you an eating plan. But that is not the only thing people need. And it's like, and people will say to me, oh, I cheated, or this was a treat. And to get them to understand, when I'm finished with clients, they think healthy food, they know healthy food is a treat, it's a gift. And it's just getting people to understand, but I'm gifting myself, not rewarding. There's a big difference, but it's a gift, and I've been given nature to enjoy. So, and when they realize that, and that is health coaching. You're so right that it's not just giving an eating plan, it's getting to the root of what's going on.
Yeah. So I know that you feel quite strongly about how health coaching has the potential to change lives. So is that what you feel, why that is? Or is there anything that you want to add to that in terms of why health coaching has the potential to change lives?
how much time do you have? So for me, I so believe it that we live inside a miracle. We live inside a miracle. And think about it, when a baby is born, it's like, oh, it's this amazing miracle. I've got a friend now who's pregnant, and it's just thank you for this miracle. And then we grow up and we forget it. We forget that we live inside a miracle. So for me, health coaching is a way for people to rediscover that again, to feel that I live inside a miracle. And yes, I do believe health coaching can change lives, because I had a client this week, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor said to him, listen, chap, you're not going to see your children finish school.
Sure.
His boys. He said, they just gone into high school. He said, it's not, if you carry on this way, it's not going to happen. You need to drastically make lifestyle changes. And he came to me, and he's lost weight. He's got so much energy, and he's just so much healthier. And he said his marriage is so much better because he feels better in his body. He's got more confidence. He said he used to break his wife down, criticize her because he was feeling terrible. So his marriage is better. He said for the first time in a decade, he can play with his sons. He can kick a ball with his sons. He said when he used to go and watch them play rugby, he had to sit in the vehicle because he couldn't stand up. Now he says he's running up like a crazy father, shouting for his boys. He says his work, he's getting more hands-on, or he is more hands-on in his work. He says so his employees are more motivated, and his doctor is happy. So yes, it really, really changes lives. And it's in his case, it was working with a doctor to support his health. I mean, he's got all the medicine, he's reduced his medicine, the doctor reduced his medicine tremendously, but his life has changed. He had, and the one thing he said to me the other day when I saw him, I said to him, did you think it was possible? He said, no. He said, but Vicky, thought it was possible. He said, and he thought, I'm an honest person. I won't lie to him.
Wow.
And so he said the whole time he didn't think it was possible, but the only thing that kept him going was the fact that I thought it was possible. So yes, I think as health coaches, we know what is possible. And yes, I think it's just believing in the process and believing what clients can do. And I can't do it for them. I cannot do it for them. They have to do it themselves. And I always say, clients don't really care about how much you know. They care about how much you care.
Yes. Oh, that's nice. I love it.
And yes, you need to know something, but we'll often think, oh, we don't know enough. And to be honest, I've had clients where I'm like, I don't know. I will find out, but I don't know the answer to this specific question. But it's more important to them that I care, and they trust me for that I care enough to find out, that I care enough to support them. And that's what they need. And that's what I'm incredibly proud of my clients, because they are the ones who put in the work. They are the ones who do the work, and are committed. And I mean, I've got another client, just going back to the sleep. She said to me when I started with her, she doesn't have 8 hours a night. She cannot sleep. And the thing is, just doing that, going through the sleep hygiene, doing all that stuff, she had to do major work. And she says her productivity has gone up so much, and she says she's a nicer mother. She's a nicer partner. She's a nicer person. So whatever you do as a health coach, yes, those people's lives change for the better, hopefully. I believe
Absolutely.
that. And it's not rocket science. It's like just doing what we were taught to do and caring.
Yes, absolutely. And what I think, it's you're so spot on with, there's so much info out there. Like you said, we can get anything on the internet nowadays. But something that is missing in most of our lives is someone who listens to us, right? Or someone who really cares and believes in us, right? So I think that's so spot on. It's really not about how much you know, but if you care and if you listen, you're doing a lot for your clients. So yeah, that's so beautiful. But also something else you mentioned was how our health it's not isolated. As you've been explaining, it's not just about the nutrition and the exercise and all of that. It impacts everything. Like you said, our productivity, our relationships, our our moods, all of that, our mindset. So it's so important and such a great reminder that it's not just this one small area that we need to focus on. It's really impacting everything. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and that's why I say, it's the greatest investment you can do is when you invest in your health, because you like I said, my client, she runs a massive business and her productivity has gone up. This client I spoke to now, his business is doing better because he's healthier. And it's the best investment because it just like flows into every area of your life. And it's this gift we given by nature. And even if you think about it, sunlight, exercise, nature, food, it's these amazing gifts we are given. Water.
And it's free. We've got access to it. We just need to use it.
Exactly. So it's really just knowing how to use it. And speaking of water, I joked with somebody the other day and I said, yeah, it's quite funny. People pay me to remind them to drink water at times, but it's a small thing. But once, I always say also, again, 3 days. First thing when you wake up in the morning, have that water for the energy, and explain to them that you dehydrate overnight, but it's free and it can make you feel so much better. But it's just habits. We've technology and life, we got into these bad habits, and just helping people to create better habits again. And got to do with health, and yeah, you're right, it's every aspect of people's lives are impacted by that.
So I'm just thinking how truly lucky your clients are to have you as a coach. I think it's obviously going to have a huge impact on their lives. So just from a client's perspective, that's a lovely journey to go through. But also thinking about from a practitioner's view, so working as a health coach. So what would you say to someone thinking about studying health coaching? So being in the practitioner's seat.
Okay, so just to get back to your first comment, I'm just very, very lucky. I've got the most amazing clients I work with. I always say, I don't know why, but I just feel like I hit the jackpot with my clients. I work with incredibly nice people. So I'm just, I'm just lucky there.
Well, Vicky, there's a common denominator there, and that's you. So
I really am. I work with amazing people who enrich my life, and I'm so grateful for that. But to people who are considering to become health coaches, it really is needed. Health coaches are needed. And you said in the beginning, I live in the middle of nowhere, and I really, really live in the middle of nowhere. If I had to take you outside, you don't see houses, you don't see people, you'll see animals. I mean, sorry, you heard my dogs, but that's the way, animals get priority. So, the wonder of health coaching, you can do it anywhere. You can reach people. I mean, I see people, in one day, I once saw people in 4 clients, 3 of them were in the morning, 3 of them were in different countries, so it's amazing what you can do just being a health coach. You can reach people all over the world, so that there are no limits, but it is hard work. I mean, the HCA course is an amazing course, and I would encourage people to do a proper course like the HCA course. It's hard work, it's challenging, but you will get to the other side with such a good qualification. But when it comes to, like being a health coach, I said in the beginning, I talked about my purpose, and I think it's so important that people must be aware of their own purpose, their own vision, their own why. why they're doing it, because that will motivate them and help them to be successful in their business, in their practice or whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely a life-changing career. You talked about changing clients' lives. Yes, it is possible, but it certainly has changed my life in terms of just really opening up the possibilities in terms of my career, but also just meeting the most amazing people. And it's a huge privilege for me to be part of people's journeys. And when I mentioned the lady earlier who on her 9th birthday, was given a grandfather made a comment, for almost 40 years, she's been walking around with it and she's never told anyone. It's a privilege to hear people's stories, but it's an even bigger privilege to see them put in the work, make the effort, have the commitment to change their lives change their lives in a positive way.
Yes.
They thought it wasn't possible. It's just, this is the way it is. I was born almost tired. I was born overweight. I was born underweight. I was born unhappy. I was born sick. And to see them, for them to see that it is possible. So yes, and that's what health coaching does. So if you are interested in people and in health and in touching people's lives, but don't always know how to do it, health coaching is like the most amazing career to help you to do that. I really see it as a privilege.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's so much flexibility around it as well. And, you can set up your own practice, your own pace so that it works for you. You don't have to have a set structure. You set it up yourself. So that's what I really also love about it. Yeah, so thank you, Vicky. It's really, really enlightening to see how you build your own practice and how you are supporting people to create health while you are fighting the odds in the middle of nowhere to do that. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for sharing more on your own journey with us. And yeah, just all the best for your future endeavors. It was so enlightening to get an idea of how it could look and what is possible when it comes to a health coaching career. So just lastly, before we end off, where can the audience find out more about you?
Well, thank you, firstly, Zena, for having me. And I feel I blah, blah, a bit when I start talking about health coaching, because I get so excited about it that I just want to, it's such an amazing process. So I apologize if I was just babbling away some of the time, but it's just, I get so, I get excited about it. Well, my business is called Health as a Way of Life with Vicky B, but my website is www.healthcoaching. It's quite easy. healthcoaching.co.za. Yes. And I'm on social media, Vicky Barnard, health coach, and so they can find me anywhere if they Google health coaching, and I've usually come up. So, but and if there are any health coaches out there, studying, do connect and do, see what it looks like. I often share testimonials, from my clients and things. I do a thing where questions are often asked by my clients. So it's just a little bit of insight in the health coaching process. But thank you so much for having me and for listening to all my excited
It was lovely. I enjoyed it so much. And thanks for taking out the time. I know you're busy, so really appreciate hearing from you and sharing your journey.